mustard.
The outcome was the Napa Valley Mustard Company. Often still these days, you'll find them working in the lab, which is really just Ruthie's kitchen.
It's very important to us to have natural, fresh ingredients, no preservatives. And 10 years ago, when we started, the gourmet markets were really just right in their prime, and there were a lot of them around and very willing to pick up new gourmet products. For now, it's kind of changed a little bit. The supermarkets have started picking up more gourmet lines. In the spring, it's just absolutely gorgeous. I think it's one of the prettiest places in the world.
In California's Napa Valley, Miles Saunders for NBC News.
The Napa Valley Mustard Company distributes its 4 varieties of mustard to gourmet stores all over the country. I'm Sarah James, and you're watching NBC Nightside, a production of the NBC News Channel, Charlotte, North Carolina.
This does not stop.
An angry Jerry Brown denies a report that drugs were used at his home while he was governor of California. And Prime Minister John Major's conservatives score a victory in Britain's national elections.
This is NBC News at Sunrise with Ann Curry.
Good morning, I'm Paul Majors for Ann Curry. Allegations of drug use are swirling around the campaign of Democratic presidential candidate Jerry Brown. The charges? Drug parties at Brown's California home while serving as governor. Brown denies it and is hinting at legal action. Linda Douglas reports.
The allegations that there was Jerry Brown's campaign virtually ground to a halt as he fended off charges that drug parties were held in his home while he was governor. ABC News quoted 4 former state police who said they found drug residue scattered throughout his home after parties.
We could smell the odor of burnt marijuana, and we found traces of white powdery substances, which we later identified as cocaine.
The security officers said Brown threw the parties in his former Los Angeles home in the 1970s. They did not say Brown himself used drugs. Brown reacted with outrage, threatening legal action.
The accusations are bizarre, false, and defamatory.
Brown's longtime California Highway Patrol driver, who rarely left his side during the 1970s, called the charges preposterous.
Whatever it is, and whether they're out to get him or whether or not, these accusations are not true.
There was a torrent of rebuttals. Brown's former neighbors.
There were very few parties. A few that did occur seemed to be political events.
In the next few days, Brown will likely play a role that's become familiar in this campaign, a candidate answering charges about his personal life. Linda Douglas, NBC News, Los Angeles.
Panama's former strongman is now a convicted man. Manuel Noriega is facing up to 120 years in federal prison after a Miami jury found him guilty on 8 drug and racketeering charges. Noriega will be sentenced in July. He still faces trial in Tampa on a marijuana smuggling indictment. Ed Rabel is standing by in Panama City. Ed, what's the reaction to the Noriega verdict in the Panamanian capital?
Good morning, Paul. There was a great deal of joy mixed with some bitterness here. Citizens poured into the streets of Panama City and celebrated. They waved white handkerchiefs and honked car horns after hearing news of the verdict. But some expressed bitterness because General Noriega was tried first in an American court. They'd like to have brought him to trial here first on the 30 charges against him in Panama, including murder and human rights abuses.
Ed, the invasion of Panama was costly in terms of the damage that it caused and the problems it left in its wake. Do the Panamanians feel that it was all worth it now that he's been convicted?
You're right, the cost was enormous. There were 23 American soldiers killed invading Panama to get Noriega, but hundreds of Panamanians died. Some residents say it was worth it, but poor people here, and that's half the population, wonder. 16% of the workforce is jobless nationwide. In the cities, the rate is much higher. Some people I talked to said they were better off when Noriega still was in power. They do have democracy, freedom of the press, personal freedom. Noriega had denied them that. But, for example, there is this lament. Even though Noriega is gone, drug trafficking is not. Cocaine smuggling never skipped a beat, they say. Paul?
All right, Ed, thank you very much. Ed Rabel from Panama City. John Major's Conservative Party has scored a surprisingly strong victory in Britain's national elections. Margaret Larson joins us now from London with the details. Good morning, Margaret.
Good morning, Paul. In the end, Britain, suffering a long-running recession, chose the government they knew over the promises of the opposition party. Prime Minister John Major pulled a political rabbit out of a hat last night, a clear victory that almost no one had predicted.
In the small morning hours, Major led his Conservative Party to a fourth straight victory, unprecedented in this century.
I'm very pleased at the result. It's a result, I think, that has surprised one or two people, but not the Conservative Party. I'm very pleased with it.
Everything we've done in the last 13 years will now be conserved and built on into the future.
Early editions of Britain's newspapers stuck with predictions that the vote was too close to call. Later headlines got it right. The polls had been all wrong.
Certainly one of the most amazing results since the Second World War, since Winston Churchill suddenly found that he was defeated after the war.
Despite Major's success, the opposition Labour Party did manage to gain more than 30 seats in Parliament, including one for former actress and Oscar winner Glenda Jackson.
I naturally feel a strong sense of disappointment.
Labour Party leader Neil Kinnock was rejected a second time by voters who feared his leadership would mean higher taxes. He promised to fight on for Britain's disadvantaged.
They deserve better than they got on the 9th of April, 1992.
I care about.
John Major responded.
But I'm Prime Minister of all this country, for everyone, whether they voted for me or not. And that is something I shall never forget.
Major's first priority now is to figure out how to lift Britain out of its recession, a job that may be even tougher than winning this election. Paul?
Margaret, do we know what course of action he might take to accomplish that goal?
To accomplish lifting the country out of recession?
Right, exactly.
He, in fact, has several plans that he's put forward in his manifesto, but principally he wants to support enterprise in this country, and he wants to reduce taxes to about 20%. Those are his two major ideas in that regard.
All right, Margaret, thank you very much. The House has acted to allow pensioners to double what they can earn without losing any Social Security benefits. By an overwhelming vote, the lawmakers backed a bill allowing senior citizens to make up to $20,000 a year without a reduction in their retirement payments. At least half a dozen tornadoes touched down in northwestern Oklahoma last evening. A home video camera captured the fury of one twister that struck Woodward County. The storm system brought 100-mile-an-hour winds into the area. A number of farm buildings were damaged. Some trees and power lines were downed. But miraculously, there were no reported injuries. We'll have more news, Joe Whitty's weather, and the day in business after this.
Look at these red marks. These old glasses do nothing but pinch. They're a pain.
You don't have to put up with glasses that don't fit anymore.
Now LensCrafters brings you better fit for greater comfort. LensCrafters glasses fit your snug points with features like new self-adjusting snug fit pads that flex to gently and securely hug your nose.
No more pinching. I never knew glasses could be this comfortable.
LensCrafters, better fit for greater comfort. In about an hour.
It's a whole new feeling. Come see what we've done. It gets better and better at Sheraton.
At ITT Sheraton, we spent $1 billion to get ready for your next business trip. Come stay with us.
We spent $1 billion, so you'll feel like $1 million at Sheraton Hotels. It's a whole new feeling.
Morning breath.
As soon as I have my coffee, it's all gone.
Whether you admit it or not, it's a problem.
Okay, I have morning breath, but it doesn't bother anyone.
Don't be so sure.
Mine's not so bad.
Morning breath's not as bad as you think. It's worse. So get Scope. Its two powerful ingredients kill 90% of the bacteria that cause morning breath.
Was my morning breath really that bad?
There's no denying morning breath, so save your breath with Scope.
Stock prices rallied yesterday. The Dow Jones Industrials gained more than 43.5 points. Looking ahead to today's market, here's the Wall Street Journal's John Prespo. Good morning, John.
Morning, Paul.
What caused this turnaround?
Well, the Federal Reserve lowered interest rates by a little bit, 1/4 percentage point, and that got everybody excited. And then there was also good news in the morning that producer prices, wholesale prices, did not rise very much. That means inflation is under control. The two factors together got everybody going and buying stocks again. But that was after a 94-point drop over the previous 2 days.
Well, you're still delivering a rather pleasant message here. Can we expect this rally to continue?
Well, it certainly looks good for today. We have big upturns in Tokyo and London overnight. That probably will spill over into the U.S. market. But I think we're going to get back to a trading range market again, wandering around like a lost puppy like we've been doing since January. I don't see any improvement on the economic rebound front. Still going to be ragged and slow.
All right, John, thank you very much. Let's turn to Joe Whitty and the weather. You're saying that I may return home to some snow this weekend.
Well, northern Minnesota is going to have some snow, possibly up to 4 to 6 inches, and of course that's keeping ranchers very busy all night and today in North Dakota, trying to bring in those newborn calves from the snow and wind chills about 10 below zero. And just to the south in the warm air, a very strong risk of severe thunderstorms for portions of Iowa, Illinois, Nebraska, Kansas, and Missouri. Keep a weather eye there. Travelers will find the south in pretty good shape except along the Gulf, and the west, more mountain snows and rains for Oregon, California in good shape. Temperatures pretty close to seasonable for this time of the year. That's my national weather. Now here's what's happening in your neighborhood. 4, Minneapolis-St. Paul, not bad to start out with, Paul. 49 degrees, but it's going to get cold over the weekend. Chicago, stormy at 64 degrees. New York also going up to 64 degrees, 75 by tomorrow, but watch out for strong storms, and 81 in Denver. In just a few more minutes, the weather for the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Paul?
I would just like you to urge spring on for me.
We're trying.
Thank you. In basketball, sweet music for the Utah Jazz. The sports report is next, right after this.
The Easy Spirit Color Playoffs. The Golds versus the Patents. The Easy Spirit Shock Blocker Pumps.
There really is a sneaker inside these little pumps.
Now, when you buy Easy Spirit shoes, you'll get a free simulated pearl necklace. And you can also register to win a strand of real pearls. Hurry, this special offer ends soon. Join the Easy Spirit Pearl Hunt today. Call for the store nearest you.
At BASF, we don't make the house, we make it warmer. We don't make the suit, we make it racier. We don't make the meal, we make it healthier. We don't make the music, we make it clearer. At BASF, we don't make a lot of the products you buy, we make a lot of the products you buy better. BASF.
At Alex Audio and Video, we take pride in staying on the cutting edge of fast-moving technology. We believe in investing in the training of our technicians and the maintaining of a well-stocked parts department. We provide our technicians with the latest service equipment and service information. Fast returns, averaging 3 to 5 days for in-shop repairs, is a top priority. Alex Audio and Video is the authorized service center for most brands of home entertainment equipment, with 4 locations to serve you.
If you want a truck that's quick, if you want a truck that's the latest style, if you want a truck that's the best looking, see your Vikingland GMC truck dealer. If you want a truck that's a great value, if you want an all-wheel drive family van, now get cash back or GMAC finance rates as low as 6.9% APR on select models. Then be sure to see your Vikingland GMC truck dealer today.
In sports, the hockey season may still be saved. Owners and striking players are scheduled to resume negotiations today. The league had threatened to cancel the season if a settlement wasn't reached yesterday. Meanwhile, NBA teams are still doing their talking on the court. Tyrone Corbin made the shot of the night as Utah clinched the Midwest Division by downing Dallas 113-90. In L.A., the Clippers improved their playoff hopes with a 106-100 victory over Portland. San Antonio topped the Lakers by 8 points. Seattle slew Phoenix by 15. Sacramento stopped Denver. Cleveland clipped Charlotte. Houston mauled Minnesota, and Orlando edged Atlanta by a pair. Texas became baseball's first 4-0 team by slamming Seattle 9-1. The Rangers have already scored 38 runs. And the White Sox completed a 3-game sweep of California with a 7-6 victory. George Bell blasted his first homer for his new team. In other American League action, Oakland swept Kansas City. Toronto also remained undefeated by downing Detroit. Minnesota took Milwaukee. The Yankees beat the Red Sox again, and Baltimore's Ben McDonald pitched a 2-hitter against Cleveland. The Giants spoiled Atlanta's home opener by blasting the National League champions 11-4. Will Clark went 4 for 4. And in San Diego, Brett Butler led off the game with a home run off Craig Lefferts, and the Dodgers went on to a 6-3 victory. Houston rallied past Cincinnati in 13 innings. The Mets slugged St. Louis 7-1. Montreal pounded Pittsburgh, and Philadelphia clobbered the Cubs for the second straight time. In golf, Lanny Watkins and Jeff Sluman are tied for the first-round lead at the Masters. They both shot a 7-under par 65. Watkins and Sluman are 3 strokes ahead of Wayne Grady, Mike Holbert, and Ted Schultz. as well as Davis Love III. The Pontiac Silverdome, the home of the Detroit Lions, is going on the auction block. City officials say Pontiac is facing a $1.5 million deficit this year, and they hope the sale of the dome is the bailout they need. The Silverdome cost more than $55 million when it was built 17 years ago. The news continues in just a moment. You're watching NBC News at Sunrise.
Later this morning on Today, Mickey and Goofy go Parisian. We'll preview the grand opening of Euro Disney.
Also, the greatest show on earth comes to our studio live.
That's later this morning on Today.
For 9 incredible days, just $49 down, delivers at Coon Rapids Chrysler Plymouth. $49 down delivers a new Sundance for $159 a month. $49 down delivers a new Voyager with automatic transmission for $279 a month. $49 down will even deliver a 91 Hyundai Excel for $129 a month. But that's not all. Your first payment won't be due for 90 days on any new or late model used cars sold this week. So hurry to Coon Rapids Chrysler Plymouth, where just $49 down delivers.
Watch Pat Miles on KARE 11 News.
Here are some of the stories we're following this Friday morning on NBC News at Sunrise. Jerry Brown says he didn't play host to drug abuse. A federal jury finds Manuel Noriega guilty of drug smuggling and money laundering. And former savings and loan operator Charles Keating faces sentencing for fraud. The ways in which computers touch our lives continue to increase. They're being used in the courts, producing simulations that are introduced as evidence. And that stirred up quite a controversy. George Lewis takes another look.
Jim Mitchell, who made his living in the pornographic film business, on trial in California last year for killing his brother Artie. In presenting its case against Mitchell, the prosecution used state-of-the-art technology. A computerized simulation of the shooting based on the analysis of experts who studied the evidence.
I think the video recreation, which basically shows a 20-30 second segment of what we contend happened, made it easier for a trier of fact to see what our version or theory of the case was, which would not have been as clear, in my opinion, had that not happened with the video.
Now, everything you'll see here is based on physical evidence.
Ballistics expert Alexander Jason prepared the computer simulation.
I think it's fair because I know what went into this. This is not my opinion of what happened. This isn't just my view. This is all based on physical evidence.
Mitchell was convicted of premeditated manslaughter, but his lawyers are appealing the verdict.
The ballistics and the trace evidence did not justify the conclusions depicted in that computerized animated video. So it was totally unfair and misleading.
Computer simulations have come into frequent use in civil lawsuits when lawyers want to recreate accidents. McDonnell Douglas Aircraft used this simulation to prove that design defects were not a factor in the crash of a Northwest Airlines jet in Detroit, that it was a case of pilot error. This simulated ride on a roller coaster helped a Texas teenager win a $2.5 million judgment against the Astro World amusement park in Houston. His lawyers successfully argued that the boy, who suffered a stroke, would have been all right if the seat he was riding in had been better designed. Forensic Technologies International is one of the leading companies in the field of computer recreations used in courtrooms.
I'd say the strongest selling point is that the audience that you have in the courtroom is a TV audience. It's a world where people are used to getting their information visually.
That's precisely the problem, say critics of this technique.
You want trustworthy evidence. You don't want people to be overpowered by all sorts of theatrical and technological glitz, as they will with this stuff.
While computer simulations have gained acceptance in civil cases, their use in criminal trials has met with some resistance from lawyers and judges. This week, at the trial of 4 Los Angeles police officers accused of beating motorist Rodney King, the judge refused to let the jury see a computerized depiction of the incident.
It's supposition and estimates and not reliable to the point where it is admissible evidence, and its prejudicial effect and potential for confusing the jury is great, and there's a high probability of doing just that.
The advocates of computer simulation say the legal community raised the same kinds of objections in the early part of this century when photographs were first used as evidence. Now a new technology vies for credibility in the courtroom. George Lewis, NBC News, Los Angeles.
We'll have more news, CNBC's Ron and Sana on business, and Joe Woody's weather when we return. Topping our news this morning, an angry denial from Jerry Brown. The presidential candidate is contemplating legal action against police officers who served on a security detail while he was governor of California. The officers say they found evidence that marijuana and cocaine were used at parties at Brown's Southern California home.
And the whole story is a tissue of fiction and lies that surfaced just 3 weeks ago when my campaign started to surge. And we're going to, well, I don't have any suspicion other than we're going to unmask these false accusers, and we're going to get to the bottom of it.
The officers say they made no arrests at the time because their primary goal was protecting the governor. There's been no suggestion of drug abuse by Brown himself. Former Panamanian dictator Manuel Noriega is facing a sentence of up to 120 years in prison. Noah Nelson says a federal jury in Miami convicted Noriega of 8 drug-related charges yesterday.
Noriega was found guilty of the 2 major charges as well as 6 lesser ones. He was acquitted on 2 minor counts. Noriega showed no emotion as the verdict was read. He could face 120 years in prison. At the Justice Department, there was a sense of satisfaction.
The verdict, I think, that was handed down today in Miami demonstrates that no one, regardless of his position, is above the law.
Noriega's attorney was bitter.
Today, the people of the United States, via this jury, have condoned that action and have sent a message to the rest of the world leaders that you, too, may someday be in our courthouse for alleged crimes you committed in your own country.
Prosecutors charged that Noriega was on the payroll of the Medellin drug cartel, collecting millions in protection and laundering drug money. A parade of 60 government witnesses, many of them convicted drug dealers like Carlos Later, testified that Noriega allowed the cartel to ship drugs to the U.S. through Panama and eliminate those who got in the way.
The government may have spent $10 million to convict Noriega, and it's not finished. He still faces drug smuggling charges in Tampa, and the government of Panama would like to try him for murder. Noah Nelson, NBC News, Miami.
Noriega was the target of the U.S. invasion of Panama 2 years ago. White House reaction to the verdict was quick and predictable, as Jim Miklashevsky reports.
Within minutes of the Noriega verdict, Bush was celebrating the results.
I think the main thing is it sends a message to the drug lords that they are going to be brought to justice.
Despite lingering problems in Panama, one U.S. diplomat called the guilty verdict a vindication of the U.S. invasion. But the jury's still out on Iraq and Saddam Hussein. More than a year after the Gulf War, Saddam is still in power, and there are signs he's about to use it. There's growing concern Saddam may order an attack on Kurds in the north. Bush himself is still on the defensive against stories that he stopped the war before General Norman Schwarzkopf wanted to.
I will tell you unequivocally that that is simply, totally untrue.
The verdict against Noriega may remove the dictator as a potential political bomb against Bush this year. But there's still plenty of time between now and November for the standoff with Saddam to blow up in Bush's face. Jim Miklashevsky, NBC News, the White House.
Los Angeles District Attorney Ira Reiner is calling for the maximum 10-year sentence to be handed down today against former savings and loan operator Charles Keating. Keating has been convicted of swindling investors in the parent company of the failed Lincoln Savings and Loan Association. More than 17,000 bondholders lost about $250 million when Keating's empire crumbled 3 years ago. When we return, CNBC's Ron and Sana on why the Fed cut interest rates, and Joe Whitty with the weekend weather.
A message to everyone who flies from American Airlines. Starting Monday, April 13th, American introduces a dramatic new pricing program that brings true value back to air travel. It all begins with American's new Anytime Fare for Business, which saves you 38% off today's full coach fare, any day, on any American or American Eagle domestic flight, with no advance purchase required. For leisure travel, you can save even more with our new 7-day and 21-day plan ahead fares. While these fares are non-refundable, they are now reusable. Finally, our new first-class fare saves you 20 to 50% throughout the continental U.S. This is not a sale. This is a straightforward pricing approach that has been long overdue in the airline industry. A new way of doing business from American Airlines, the one airline bringing value back to air travel.
Education. It affects all of us.
You need an education to get through life, period.
So many kids get lost.
Right now, IBM is working with school systems across America. We're donating equipment, volunteering time to tutor students, and creating new ways for computers to help teachers teach and better prepare young people for the world they're about to inherit.
I'm not without hope.
Which plant food is best for you? Well, listen to these prize-winning gardeners at America's great fairs and flower shows.
There was absolutely no comparison. The Miracle Grow produced a bigger, more beautiful plant.
I not only get more tomatoes, but I get bigger tomatoes.
The plants with Miracle Grow were twice the size of the others.
You'll never know what a great gardener you can be until you've used Miracle Grow. Now the Miracle Grow No Clog 2. It's 3 feeders in 1. It's a gentle feeder for delicate flowers, a wand feeder, a lawn feeder.
The Federal Reserve Board has cut another key interest rate. CNBC's Ron Insana has some background on what led to the Fed's action. Good morning, Ron.
Good morning, Paul.
It's the Fed fund that's been cut. What is that?
That's the rate that banks charge each other on overnight loans, and what they usually do is kind of square their books at the end of the day, and banks lend each other money depending on the reserve balances. But it's a key rate because it's essentially the cost of doing business for U.S. banks.
Mm-hmm. Who ultimately is impacted by this cut?
Actually, everybody. Businesses first, because as interest rates come down in the banking sector, that's passed along to the corporate sector. Their cost of borrowing goes down, and ultimately the consumer as well, particularly the home buyer who's been impacted by the fast shift in rates over the last couple of months.
Mm-hmm. Now, did the situation in Tokyo have anything to do with this?
Well, to some extent it did, even though a Fed spokesman yesterday denied that the Tokyo situation led to a reduction in U.S. interest rates. There is concern that fragility in that financial system could hurt here. Some of the other background factors, though, included a drop-off in traffic through model homes here in the U.S. Also, mortgage refinancing applications dropped very sharply recently, and also applications to buy homes fell sharply after surging in the first part of the year. So the Fed got a little nervous about that and decided to push interest rates down.
Well, this is good news for all of us. Can we expect any other good news from the Fed in the near future?
One would hope, but again, it's going to depend on the coming round of economic statistics, and they'll be looking closely at retail sales data, the next round of housing data, to see whether or not there's any response to the most recent cut in interest rates. Then they'll make another decision.
You're correct. One would hope. I'll throw in the addendum a lot.
A lot.
Thank you very much. Let's hope for nice weather this weekend.
That's right. Well, some parts of the country will have some good weather at times, and other times we'll have some rainy weather. Take a look at the satellite time-lapse action. You see lots of moisture moving in from the Pacific Northwest. That means a wet weekend for much of Washington, Northern California, even Central California. And watch today for strong thunderstorms centered around Missouri, Arkansas, Iowa, Illinois area. For Saturday, here's what the situation will be. Strong thunderstorm risk from the lower Ohio Valley to the northeast coast, including New Jersey, New York, and rain moving in from the ocean still in the west. Sunny and hot, though, in Phoenix and Arizona. Going up into the 90s, warm in southern Florida. But look, we've got a chance of showers for the Masters down in Georgia. Cold with snow, spring snow in the northern plains, North Dakota through northern Minnesota. And then on Sunday, everything advances to the east, so the northeast dries out, bringing them sunny skies. But more moisture moves into the west, and that pushes the rain down into central California and snow into the northern Rocky Mountain states. Old man winter doesn't want to give up yet. Paul, have a good one.
You too, Joe. Well, that's NBC News at Sunrise this Friday morning. I'm Paul Majors. You have a good weekend.
It's one of the most devastating strikes in history. 12,000 Caterpillar workers must choose between their loyalties. Could this mean the downfall of unions in America? Tonight on NBC Nightly News.
There's a lot of ways to buy used cars and trucks, but one way gives you an important additional feature, the Luther Quality Commitment. It begins with a 23-point mechanical inspection. It covers you with a full written warranty. It protects you with roadside assistance for 1 complete year. The Luther Commitment. 10 different dealerships, a level of confidence no private party seller or any other dealer can match. The Luther Dealers, changing the used car business for good.
Each spring, robins work hard finding new homes. But this year, the Robin family found an easier way. They flew to Super America and picked up a spring preview guide. The preview has hundreds of new homes with features to make 90s living easy and more comfortable. And when you select a preview home, you can move right in. The 1992 Spring Preview. Finding a new home any other way is, well, for the birds. Pick up your free preview guide today at any Super America.
Jane Russell, Esther Williams, and Gloria DeHaven next, Geraldo.
Well, good morning, and no, you're not dreaming it's snowing outside. I'm Ken Barlow.
And I'm Roxanne Battle. Next on KARE 11 Sunrise. At the Capitol, the highly touted health right bill survives a late-night Senate committee vote. A fire overnight damages a building home to 4 Minneapolis businesses, and we've got the results of Britain's close election.
And if a vote were held today, I'd be voted out of office. We have some snow coming down outside. We'll detail that. It's our top story. KARE 11 Sunrise is next.
From your 24-hour news station, this is KARE 11 Sunrise.
Hey, good morning. A live picture this morning from Maple Grove. This is 494 and Weaver Lake Road, one of the busier exchanges in the Twin Cities. It's very slushy. You see the snow on the ground there. It's I-94, I'm sorry. It's going to be snowing pretty much all morning long as we have a rare April snowstorm outside right now. 2 to 4 inches of snow is expected this morning. And what a shock it was to wake up this morning for me, too. Meteorologists were taken just as surprised as everybody else.
You didn't see this coming?
No, it looked like it would stay around Pine City to Brainerd, you know, a northern system. And Duluth, still, those places are going to get 5 to 6 to 7 inches of snow. Here, 2 to 4 inches quite likely. Let's check out radar right off the top this morning. You can see, wow. All of that just about is snow. You get south of Carver, Scott counties, it's rain. Down toward Mankato, it's rain. Rochester, it's just cloudy. It's just cloudy now at Duluth. Right here, though, in the Twin Cities, which is right smack dab in the middle of all that junk, it's snowing, and it's snowing pretty hard. And again, 2 to 4 inches quite likely. Roadways are slick. We want to start out this morning by going to Dave Clutter.
Yeah, let's take a look and see how rush hour traffic is going to be affected by all the snow. Here's Dave Clutter with the first look at rush hour traffic. Good morning, Dave.
Hi, Dave.
Hi, Roxanne. Good morning, Ken. Yeah, a busy morning, needless to say. Roads are at best wet and slush covered. No part of the metro area is being spared poor driving conditions as we take a live look there at Maple Grove again. That's I-94 and Weaver Lake Road, and that is pretty much the story around the entire metro area. Things are very slow, and again, roads are in really poor driving condition. Now let's take a look at what's going on as a result of all this. Coming in from Burnsville, 35W northbound traffic lined up behind an accident. It's 35W northbound at 98th in Bloomington. 694 westbound on the top of the ramp at Hemlock Lane in Maple Grove, not too far from our live shot. An accident with injuries there right now. Back down south in Richfield, an injury accident now clearing 35W northbound at 66th Street. Traffic is heavy past the scene there. An 18-wheeler on Highway 12 in Maple Plain. It's overturned and everybody's working now to clear things there right now. 94 eastbound at Riverside, an accident there is in the process of clearing. So Roxanne and Ken, with things in fair to poor driving condition, it's a busy morning with wet and slushy roads. Give yourself a lot of extra time this morning. That is your first look at traffic.
Thanks a lot, Dave. That's right. You probably want to give yourself a few extra minutes this morning and make sure that you get in work on time. We did check the airport and some schools, and so far all the flights are on time. There are no closings to report at this hour. Just slow, slushy traffic this morning.
And we will be bringing you frequent weather and traffic updates throughout the morning, but right now we'll get to the other news of the day.
Let's turn to the news this morning. We turn our attention to health care for Minnesotans. The Health Right bill was gradually losing steam, but last night, there was a turnaround by state lawmakers. Martha Kolowski is at the overnight desk and updates us on the results of last night's vote on that bill. Good morning, Martha.
Good morning, Roxanne. In overnight news, Senate Finance Committee members met late into the night to vote on the future of the so-called Health Right bill. Despite hearing a prediction that Minnesotans' health care access plan could cost $1 billion by the turn of the century, the committee approved that bill. It passed 18-10 and now will be forwarded to the Senate floor. The Health Right plan is expected to come up on the House floor for a vote today. Also in overnight news, a 2-alarm fire in Minneapolis has damaged 4 businesses there. The fire was difficult to locate because 4 different offices in the same complex had filled with smoke by the time fire crews had arrived. Just before midnight, the fire went from 2802 to 2808 West Broadway. The source of the fire was finally found on the first floor. It took firefighters about 40 minutes to get it under control. No injuries were reported, but the cause of the fire is still under investigation. It is now 6:04, Roxanne.
Thank you very much, Martha. And in news from overseas, Britain's Conservative Party kept its dominance of the House of Commons alive while you were asleep. The election results are in, and the Conservative Party won more seats in the House of Commons than the Labour Party. Prime Minister John Major is claiming victory. Britain has been under Conservative Party rule for 13 years. The IR Party calls it a bombshell. He says he's doing it in part for his family. Now, in the wake of Washington's Rubbergate, Congressman Vin Weber is calling it quits.
I'm really convinced that leaving now is the right thing for me to do, and believe me, I'm not leaving public life, and I'm not leaving politics. I'm going to find some other way of being involved, but for the time being, the stress and strains of running for re-election every 2 years, it's not for me.
The 6-term Republican from Minnesota's 2nd District says the campaign would focus too much on the check scandal. Weber's among more than 300 congressional members who bounced checks at the House bank. He wrote $48,000 worth of bad checks. Weber's not saying exactly what his next career move will be. In response to public outrage over the financial scandals involving the House bank and post office, its internal operations will be overhauled. Representatives have voted 3-1 in favor of